Well, on that day, we're in the Eagle Cap Wilderness area, and we'd made a base camp, and on this day, we were going to move our camp to a higher elevation. It was late in the afternoon, weather had been declining, and that's when the accident happened. The first thing I noticed is that my horse's neck was about to collide with my nose. So I reached out to try to grab my horse's neck to hold on so we didn't go backwards. And he spun immediately to the left, 180 degrees, and I went flying. And my last conscious thought as I went off to the right and was in midair was, this is not going to end well. It's been a year and a half now, roughly, since the accident. And when you come that close to losing your life, I think you develop a greater appreciation for what you have. The helicopter coming in when it did saved my life, because there is no way in my condition they would have been able to get me out alive any other way.
When I go home, I get to go home knowing that I have impacted someone positively. I've made their bad day maybe a little bit better. That makes this a great job.
That day, it was September 1st, and I was working in my room, and Wade was outside, just playing in the yard. I could see him through my bedroom window. And all of a sudden, I heard him crying outside. When I saw him, he was covered in blood. And I ran back in the house, and I got a towel, and I went back outside, and I pressed it to his forehead, and thankfully, my husband showed up at that time.
We weren't sure what we had, but we could tell by the people around that it was an emergency, and people were pretty excited. And there was Wade, a 4-year-old little boy, who had been kicked in the face by a horse. We were pretty worried about him. He began to, really lose consciousness, so we were concerned. We called in report to the trauma center. They were waiting for us.
We have an ETA location of about 8 to 10 minutes. Good copy.
When we landed, we rushed him into the emergency room and turned care over to them.
On October 10th, I was out surfing in Ecola State Park, and I was bitten by a great white shark. I had everyone on the beach come to my aid. I was able to kind of instruct them on how to tie a tourniquet around my leg using my leash. The ambulance transported me to another parking lot where Life Flight landed and quickly got me on the helicopter.
When we arrived on the scene of Joe's accident, all I can remember is getting in the back of the ambulance and being told that there was a shark bite. As you know, we don't really know what we're going to as soon as we get there, and it was a really unique call.
I recently got the opportunity to join Legacy's critical care transport team for the ECMO program. I am in the very beginning of my training. It's been kind of an ironic full circle for me. This experience as a patient was a direct influence on me deciding to pursue this opportunity and potentially maybe applying to be a flight nurse down the road.
My husband and I were over at Yahut's for the weekend. We decided that we were going to go out for a dinner. We went up to the restaurant, went in, sat down, and 5 minutes later I was out.
So we arrived at the restaurant that evening after a very long drive to Yahut's. We were walking inside the building, and I happened to look through the window, and I saw Tracy slumped over one of the tables. And I realized that Tracy wasn't breathing. I went ahead and helped lower her to the floor and asked my son to go get my wife, who is also a nurse. And I opened up Tracy's airway, and about that time my wife Angie arrived, and we started doing CPR on Tracy.
When she arrived, she had a cardiac arrest and her heart stopped. She had a condition called ventricular fibrillation at that time, requiring a shock to her heart to get it restarted. The speed at which the transfer occurred was essential in her care and her recovery.
Life Flight was my lifesaver, other than Dominic and Angie and my husband. If my husband wouldn't have acted out and Dominic and Angie weren't there and Life Flight wasn't here, I wouldn't have made it. There's no way I could have made it to a hospital and survived.
Being in service in the air medical industry over 40 years has meant we've seen a lot of changes. Some of those changes we've spearheaded. We started with one helicopter in the Portland metropolitan area, and today we have them throughout 4 states. We've put helicopters and aircraft in communities so that the response time to patients has been shortened. As rural hospitals are shutting down across the country, as rural hospitals are unable to provide the services they once provided, I think that you're going to see more and more need for air ambulance.
There really are no words that you can use that adequately describe appreciation to those that you know have saved your life.